Right. Hi, Ray.
I,
Tell me one thing you're good at.
I think I'm quite good at connecting with people
Mm-hmm.
and connecting them to other people.
Yeah.
Um, I was going to say I'm quite good at my photography, but then when I actually started to think about my photography, I realized it wasn't the actual photographs, because technically I don't think I'm a really good photographer
Mm.
technically.
Yeah.
What I am good at is connecting with the person that I'm photographing and bringing that something out of them when I do the photographs.
Yeah.
And when I come to edit the photographs, at times I can actually see during the stage of all the photographs where I was in a conversation with that person when I was taking the photographs,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense.
Okay. Oh, and when you're connecting with people and connecting them with others, and something comes out of them, what kind of connecting is that connecting with people?
Don't know. I think I don't know. I remember once going to a care home,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember having to wait and see this manager. And they sat me in this day room, and in the day room there were probably about, I don't know, 15 to 20 older people all sat around the room in a square,
Yeah.
and nobody was talking to each other. And I think, having worked in rest homes and residential homes, and also being a social worker, your automatic is to get someone talking
Mm-hmm.
and spark a conversation. But what I did do, I didn't expect to do, and it was I started talking to the person opposite me in the room, who I
Yeah.
caught their eye, and then we started talking about Derby, and then we started talking about pubs,
Mm-hmm.
and then while we were talking about pubs, somebody else, the other side of the room, then interacted with, well, my mum and dad used to own that pub.
Mm.
And before I knew it, everybody in the room had got a connection to that pub in some way or another.
Yeah.
Whether it was because they knew somebody that went in there, or they used to pass it when they went to school, or their parents had got it. And I just thought it was quite interesting. I know there's this thing about you're only 5 people away from someone you know,
Mm.
but it was the spark that was set off that woke them up.
Yeah.
I don't know quite what the right word is. It connected with them. It woke them up. And when the staff came in to get me to go and see the manager,
Yeah.
you could literally see the shock on their faces that all these people in the room were having a conversation as though they were sat around the dining room table. And it was quite a noisy chatter, because it wasn't just one to one, it was people to people.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked as well like there were people in there that probably didn't even speak to each other,
Yeah.
but were suddenly there laughing
Mm-hmm.
and joking. And it was just, I don't know. And I think with the photographs you can get somebody. I like working with people with mental health issues and body conscious and stuff like that, and actually sitting and talking to them and finding out why they feel as they do
Mm-hmm.
sort of can open up the box.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's not a nice box,
Yeah.
but by opening it up and starting to talk about it, there's one person that I photographed that when I actually started, she said, that she didn't like having a photograph taken, and then continually comes back now.
Yeah.
And has enjoyed capturing her time over the years of coming to the studio.
Yeah.
But it also allows me to bring something out of myself.
Yeah.
Because she will just sit there and do, she's quite into whatever I want to do, to experiment with, to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a connection there about people wanting to escape, people wanting to play, people wanting to do something or other than what their mundane life is. No, mundane is not the right word. Something different.
Yeah.
Something they wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
I always remember that when I got into photographs, I wanted to do put photographs onto people's bodies. Yeah, so project the words onto the person's body. Yeah. And I'm quite body conscious, and what I decided to do was, before I would do them, I would go and get photographed myself nude.
Yeah.
And I would never ever do it again.
Okay.
Right? Because I felt really body conscious while I was doing it. And I only did it with the photographer that I did it with because I got a connection with him and that I trusted him. But what I did find was that when I walked out of the room, I felt as though I was part of a club.
Yeah.
That many people wouldn't join. And there was something really liberating by doing that. So it was a case of, well, I wouldn't do that again, but I've done it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I'd ever jump out of a plane, but I would do it once to say that I'd done it. But I think you have to have a connection with the person there to do it. And I think I can connect with people who I photograph to get them to do things that they probably wouldn't do. And that when they walk out of the studio, they might say, well, I wouldn't do that again, but I've done it and I feel quite special about actually doing it.
Yeah.
I often get people turn around and say, I have not seen myself in that light before because of the photographs, and I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't trusted you to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite a good skill to have.
Yeah. Okay. And connection and trust and being part of a club.
Yeah.
Where the person feels special. And it's an escape, it's play, it's something other, something different. And sparking a conversation. Waking them up.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about a connection?
I think there's finding some common ground. I find it quite interesting. I mean, when I did social work, I did it with older people and vulnerable adults. I didn't really do much with children. I find it quite strange that in my studio I have, well, it is literally a room full of clothes, jewelry, props, things that I've collected that you wouldn't normally find. You would find a few props in a studio. Probably not as many as I've got in mine. It's that much that it's not big enough anymore. and it's odd bits of material and stuff like that. And what I find really interesting is that you would expect that children that come in get very excited about playing
Mm-hmm.
and dressing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's that connection that adults get with the props
Mm-hmm.
and with the clothes
Mm-hmm.
that I think that they feel it's safe to play.
Yeah.
So I think it takes them back. It's like giving them permission to play
Yeah.
because they're in a setting where they can play.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I find it quite interesting that if you walk down the street now and look at how many women wear hats,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, unless it's a bobble hat or the hat on the coat, you very rarely see people wearing fancy hats unless it's at the races.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is because of them walking down the street and people being conscious of people looking at them because of what they're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's because they don't want to wear the hat.
Yeah.
Because when they're in the studio, one of the biggest connections, apart from all the over the clothes, is the hats.
Mm-hmm.
So they will sit and play with the hats,
Yeah.
even if they don't have their photograph taken.
Yeah.
They will play with the hats. They will put them on. They will look in the mirror and they will see themselves with the hats on. And I find that really exciting. Is that they're actually doing that? And a lot of people turn around and say, when they leave the studio, that they feel really relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
They feel de-stressed
Mm-hmm.
because they've had 2 to 3 hours and sometimes 6 hours. Sometimes, because I don't book people in for, I book people in for 2 hours, but I don't normally book the room up after.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to keep going, they can.
Yeah.
And what I normally find is it's like that doorknob question when you're counseling, that if you're talking to someone, they'll have a conversation with you and you'll say, well, I'll see you now and I'll see you next week. And just before they're going out, as they go to the door handle, they go, oh, and I meant to mention about such and such. And then you have to say to them, well, next time you come, we'll talk about that.
Mm.
Because they don't want to go. They want to stop and talk about what it is that's really bothering them as they were going out the door. But you save it for next time. And I quite often do that with the clothes.
Yeah.
Or the ideas. Somebody will say, oh, we should have tried. And I go, well, let's book in another day for you to come back and we will try that and do something and we'll work on some more ideas. But I find that connection with the props and the clothes must be very similar to children going into a big room full of ties and wanting to get them all out and start playing with them. And then when they finish playing and they leave, they're de-stressed.
Yeah.
Because they've forgotten everything else that was happening. They've forgotten that they're married. They've forgotten that they've got kids. They've forgotten that they've got to do the cooking. They've forgotten that they've got jobs. And sometimes you can see the change because if they're playing
Mm-hmm.
and having their photographs taken and they're coming up with ideas and they're being creative and they're doing stuff, they will then get a text message or a phone call from externally from either a husband or a child or a friend, and you can see the automatic connection straight back into their normal daily life.
Yeah.
And you can see the change that comes across them.
Yeah.
There's suddenly an urgency about getting things done, about moving. And it's quite interesting really to watch, especially when they don't get that phone call and you see them leave the door and there's not that urgency to move off.
Yeah.
And I find that quite interesting.
Yeah. And it's not that connection with everyday life. It's a different connection.
Yeah.
and it's a connection with hats and props and clothes.
But
And
is it a connection with inside themselves
Mhm,
with something they've lost
mhm.
or want?
What kind of connection is it within you then? When
I want to play.
you want to play.
Yeah. I want to play. I want to come up with ideas. I want to come up with um, things that are inside me that I want to bring out and create.
Yeah.
So, like a filmmaker might want to put stuff onto film,
Yeah.
I want to do it. It's more the process of going through it.
Mm-hmm.
The photograph itself at the time isn't important. It's about how you're going to do this idea that you've got in your head that's wanting to come out,
Mm-hmm.
and then you take the photograph, and then after that it's where it goes then.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's something about I mean there's something about wanting to leave something behind
Mm-hmm.
so that you're not forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's more about wanting to connect with people
Yeah.
that you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
building that connection up. Uh, it's quite hard if you want to be remembered like Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, everybody knows him. It's very rare you can come across anybody who doesn't know who Shakespeare is. Yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
to get that connection with people is quite difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But the only reason we connect with him was because of what was in his head.
Yeah.
We don't connect with Shakespeare because he was a nice guy or he went down the road for his mom or his neighbors and did the shopping. We connect with him because of what was in his head and how he played.
Mm.
So he got everything out of his head. He created these pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and then people connect with him through those pieces of work.
Yeah. And with that connectedness in yourself, with wanting to play and the idea that wants to come out, and also to leave something behind, and sparking a conversation, waking them up, creating room to play where they can relax and de-stress and forget everything else and just be there in that creative process. With all of that connecting, where is that connecting?
I suppose it's inside here.
Inside here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because I end up doing externally what's actually inside internally,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. I don't know.
It needs only to make sense to you.
Yeah.
And it may be that as we explore it, it may make sense to others. But at the end
Yeah.
of the day, if we can find a way where it makes more sense to you or is clearer for you, then
Yeah.
it's a success. And if you just allow yourself to be with that inside, you can't see it, but it's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a moment, and just allow it to be there and observe it. How big is that inside?
It's very big. It gives me a sense of being.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I connect with someone, I light up.
Yeah. And when you light up and you have a sense of being and it's very big,
Yeah.
how big is that big?
Well, it's got to be. It's got to be big because it goes onto them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay.
I know that when I'm taking photographs and I start to feel as though something's getting there, or there's something there that I'm starting to capture that I've been looking for,
Mm-hmm.
they can feel it as well,
Mm-hmm.
or you can see it in them.
Yeah. And when it goes onto them and sense of being and I light up and you can see it in them, what kind of light is that light?
It's an overwhelming light.
Mm-hmm.
I did an exhibition not so long back where I did this picture of Trish called Dreams, where she's photographed and there's like, it's actually flare, but it looks like she's in clouds of smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman came and looked at it, wanted it badly,
Mm-hmm.
and then just stood in front of it and cried
Mm-hmm.
because it had resonated with her.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time being overwhelmed to the state where if it hadn't been for the person owning the gallery was stood with me, I'd have just give it her.
Yeah.
Because there was just that connection there between her, me, and the photograph, or the idea behind the photograph. And it was like the first time I'd ever met her.
Yeah.
And I've had that with poetry as well, and where people have just stood there and gone quiet. I did. It was quite interesting. I did a friend. I was working with. I wasn't exactly working with. She was more of a friend. She's been quite a friend for quite a long time. And while we were talking, I'd known her for quite a while. She mentioned about being abused when she was younger by men. And I went home and I was really troubled in my own head, because I would have thought that if someone had survived being men being abusive to them, and it wasn't just one man, that there would be a barrier up there to all men. Yeah, probably naively, but this person is beautiful, and I don't mean in the sense of looking beautiful. She's beautiful inside and out, when you just to talk to and everything. And I was really surprised about this connection we had, and that I'd known her for quite a while, but I didn't know what had happened before, and I wouldn't have known. And then that week, I don't know why, but 5 other women who I knew opened up to me about being abused, without the conversation being prompted. And I got to the end of the week, and I was just sat there, and I to be honest, I was in a bit of a I'd say I don't know if the word was shocked, because I mean, we all know it goes on. What I was surprised about was that even though I connect quite well with people and I talk to them and I get on really well with them, I didn't know these backstories. And which set me off thinking. And I know a friend who hasn't been abused, and I was talking to her about it. And what we decided to do was do this series of 6 photographs called the Kintsugi Women, and it was about the art of in Japan of when a piece of crockery breaks, they put it back together and they paint it with gold. and it becomes revered,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's more special, even though it's been broken, because it's been painted with this gold, and people want it. And I started to think, well, why would they want a piece of broken crockery that's been painted gold when they don't know the backstory
Mm-hmm.
to how the crockery got broken?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started thinking that the connection between these beautiful people that I know that have been abused,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know the backstory to them.
Mm.
And I don't know, there was just something there. And what I did was I got this friend of mine to, we covered her in white clay, and we painted her with gold. And then we set these 6 photographs up with the eyes staring out.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was, with the permission of these friends of mine, I wrote the stories out in I got them to write the stories, and I put their stories into black envelopes.
Mm-hmm.
And all I did was I put the photographs up, which I thought were beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
and I put the stories in black envelopes next to them.
Mm-hmm.
And all I told people was that inside each envelope was the story of these people who'd been abused.
Mm.
And it was quite a strange exhibition, because I had the 6 pictures in the room, and so it was like 2, 2, 1, 2. So it was, when they were coming in, yeah, all the eyes were on the center of the room,
Mm-hmm.
apart from one where she was looking at the floor. And there were quite a few women that came in and just broke down,
Mm-hmm.
and said that they got a connection with the photographs and the envelopes, even though they didn't know what was in the envelopes.
Yeah.
But what was quite interesting was there were, I think I had about 200, 250 people through on both days.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we had about 3 men that walked in the room and just went grey.
Mm-hmm.
They just stood there, and it was like, I don't know, there was definitely a connection between what they were looking at and the eyes on them,
Mm-hmm.
and getting out of that room as quick as they could.
Mm.
And I thought that was quite interesting, that some people men couldn't even stomach being in the room.
Mm.
It was a lot different reaction from a lot of the men that came through, that were quite interested in what had gone on and stuff like that. But these other men were just, got to get out of the room. It was quite a strange exhibition.
Mm.
I took it down. I didn't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
I took it down. I thought that it was too raw for some of the people looking at it.
Okay.
So and I couldn't do it.
No.
So as somebody suggested taking it around galleries and up north, and I thought, no, I can't. And I don't know why. I just couldn't.
No.
I think it was that the connections I was making with people were hurting them.
Mm-hmm.
So I just didn't do it again.
No.
But it was an experience.
Mm.
And loads of women came up and just hugged me.
Yeah.
But it was just, I felt hurt inside as well, that for what these people had actually gone through. It was just, and I don't know, that's, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was a connection with people in that exhibition, but it's not the connection of sense of being and light up and connecting with an overwhelming light?
I think there was, John. I think the difference was that it was one of pain.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite a difficult one because I felt hurt inside.
Mm.
I mean, nothing had happened to me, but the actual thought about what some of these people had gone through and what some of the people who were coming in the room to see the exhibition had gone through
Mm.
Was making me ashamed as a bloke.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wish actually that it had been more driven by the women that I'd talked to than me myself.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. I just felt that like I'd done an exhibition that was about something that was quite serious.
Mm.
And then I started to challenge myself about whether I'd actually got a right to do that, and whether I should have done it, or whether I should have. I don't know. In one way, I'm glad I did it because it connected me to a lot more people, and I learned a lot from it. I don't know. I just felt really bad. I just felt as though these people had suffered, and I couldn't do anything else but do the pictures.
Yeah.
You can give people a hug, but it doesn't take away what's happened to them. And I think now, if would I do it again? Yeah, I probably would have done it. Would do it again because I've done it, but I don't think I'd go and do another one.
No.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Ligesom at når du bliver jo I'm speaking Danish, sorry. My brain went a different way there. Like when you had your picture taken naked, it was something that you did and you became part of a club, and it was in its own way special, but it's not something you would do again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not unless I was asked to.
Yeah.
If somebody came up to me who'd been abused and said, I want to explore what happened to me through some photographs, would you help me do that?
Yeah.
Then I would.
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't think I'd do it on the grounds of my own ideas of, I think I did it. I think, in fact, if I think about it, I probably did the exhibition because I was trying to explore the feelings that I'd had after I'd been told this by these women. And because I was shocked that these 5 women that I knew that I got on really well with, I didn't really know. Not properly. But then maybe they didn't want me to know until then.
Yeah.
They might not have wanted to talk about it, but they did.
And they allowed you to share their stories.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely wouldn't have shared them if they hadn't have wanted to.
No.
And
the connection that they had with you and the trust that you talk about when you were creating photos. And
that was there.
That was there, even though they had experienced what they had, and even though you were a man.
Yeah.
Ray, when we started, I asked you to tell me about something that you were good at. And now there's a dog barking in the background. And you talked about connectedness. And there's still a dog barking in the background. Do you want to say hello? Where's he? He's just, where is he? Is he Charlie?
Oh,
there's Charlie. Probably saying that he wants to leave or something like that. Anyway, right. we're about to get into half an hour anyway. So I was about to ask in terms of the connectedness, this very big sense of being that goes into them, where you light up, and there's an overwhelming light there. Now I can go and say what it is he's grumpy about. And there's a sense of play and a sense of creativity that comes with it. Before we kind of round off, because we've been, like I said, talking for about 30 minutes there, is there anything else about that connectedness that you think is important to mention?
Not except that connectedness gets things done.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing that when I was at Age UK I was quite well known for was that if somebody wanted something, if they asked me,
mm-hmm.
I would know someone who could do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think when it comes to getting things done and helping people, being able to connect with other people,
mm-hmm.
can connect other people with each other,
mm-hmm.
and bring about change.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of connecting, but it's connecting people wider and further.
Yeah.
And I've always got great pleasure out of doing that. Is that when somebody says, "Oh, Ray, I've got someone," and they're at home, they can't get out of the house, not quite sure who I go to, and you go, "Well, you need to go to A, B, C, D, and E."
Mm-hmm.
And B will put you in touch with another load of contacts, and A will put you in, and slowly you'll build up this big picture around the person that you're looking after,
mm-hmm.
and you'll bring about change for them.
Yeah. And you'll build a big picture around the people that you're looking after, and you'll create a big change for them.
Yeah.
And is there a connection between that building a big picture and creating a change for them and the exhibition with the pictures that resembled the Japanese crockery?
Yeah.
Was that also building a big picture and creating a change for them?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
No. Okay.
It was helping them. It was the people that came to see the exhibition said that it had enabled them to get their story out without them actually going and actually telling people face to face. They actually felt as though they'd laid a book open and turned a page over.
Yeah.
And they were also very pleased that some men were coming in and actually having it put in their face what they've done. And I think that was one thing about that exhibition, was it was in such a small room, you couldn't divide it.
Yeah.
Which I think was why one of the reasons I felt quite ashamed as a guy, because, you know, I was there, I was in the room, and everywhere you look, these eyes were looking at you. And although I hadn't done it, I'm still part of that. You know, and it made me think about the way I do things, and, you know, how I deal with people and how I talk to them.
And how you create a connection with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Ray, is that an okay place for us to stop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems to be.
I'd just like to say thanks for your time and your energy and your light and your connectedness.
Yeah, it's been nice to connect with you.
And I think I have also known you before, but that big sense of being that you possess and you shared and you spread out to other people. You didn't say spread out to other people. What you did, you said you woke them up, and there came a spark within them.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful skill, and it's been a pleasure to hear more about it. So thanks for that, Ray.
Thanks, John.